Hello, welcome to Learn with Umesh, session 3. In my journey of learning AI and working with AI, I was told that generating content using prompts and using AI systems that would just respond to prompts is one part of it. But you probably want to create a system that would plan, reason, and take actions on their own to achieve certain goals with minimal human oversight. And this is generally known as agentic AI. One of the definitions of agentic AI is it's an autonomous AI system that can plan, reason, and act to complete certain tasks and not just generate content with minimal human oversight. Now, there are multiple systems available out there that can help us build such agents. And a couple of systems that I'm exploring in this path are N8N and Google's anti-gravity. There are others like LangChain and Microsoft's, I think, Copilot Studio. But we will focus on N8N and anti-gravity in next few sessions. I started with N8N for few reasons. One, it's it has been built, it's out there for quite some time and was built to automate business processes. And if I can make those business processes autonomous, that would be great, is one. Secondly, it allows users to design the logic and helps set up the logic in a way that I understand a bit better as a programmer. It also provides a full control with a human in the loop nodes, as well as you can add guardrails and error handling. So something that I do mostly as a programmer. And then N8N is used a lot by the developers, partly because it's been out there for quite some time. And anti-gravity is a relatively new kid on the block, and we'll talk about it as we take sessions on it. And finally, well, not finally, and importantly, it is also something that has over 1,000 app integrations out there, which means I can create an agent, a multi-step agent, which would interact with multiple tools in multiple steps. And I don't have to worry about, whether I can integrate with a certain tool where a decision needs to be made. And finally, it is self-hostable and open source, which means I don't need to necessarily pay for its use. So with that introduction, we will try and get into getting N8N installed on our system. Okay, so here is the N8N site, n8n.io, from where you can learn more about N8N. One of the reasons I'm using this is I would like to self-host N8N, and the self-hosting option gives me more control over what I can do. And there are bunch of examples out there on this site that you can work through. But for our purposes, I'm going to be using the self-host N8N for my own system. To make it happen, I need a Docker installation. So you need to get Docker from www.docker.com and just download the Docker desktop for your machine. I'm using Windows. I'll install it for Windows. It's pretty straightforward. Just click on this, it downloads and execute the downloadable. I'll come back with the installed version, right? So now I have the Docker installed, and this is how Docker desktop will look like. I don't have much here. There's Docker installer, containers, and whatnot. Let's not worry too much about what all these Docker things mean for us. Okay, now that we have our Docker setup, oh sorry, we will start with The two folders out here which are important, one is called as containers, where we will create our N8N container, and we will pull the image from Docker to or from someplace to get the N8N image here. But before we do that, I would like to create a folder. So let me see if I can create one. Okay, all right. Let's just create a new folder called N8N. All right, where we will hold all the data. Just create it wherever you want it. Now we go to images. Now look for in the search box out here N8N, right? And like I told you, N8N N8N is the one that I'm going to be using. Has about 100 million downloads. It's the latest. So just go and pull it. So it will say the pull is in progress. Okay. Normally, I wouldn't advise going to latest because these are sometimes unstable images, whereas these ones are generally stable. Well, actually, I should have used stable, but okay, let me do that. Let me install the stable one and pull it. Okay, so it is now available, and I would basically go and say run the image. Once you say run, it is going to ask for certain uh, optional settings. These are important for us, so let's do that. Let's call the container as 3N with mesh. For the port, because this is a port through which you would be accessing the Docker image. The default one is 5678. Let's use that. In terms of the path, I'm going to use the same path here. All right, and I will create, let's say, L3N with mesh slash 8N. All right, so I just created a container of that type. Now let's see. So it's all done. And then we should be able to see the container again with the mesh getting started. All right, now it says I should be able to access it from 5678. So let me see if I can create one. So localhost 5678. Cool. So it does show me an account here. So let me try that at gmail.com. Mesh. Okay, and I'll create a password. Hopefully I'll remember it. What best describe your company? I don't know. Education probably. What role describes you? I have no idea what role I have. Maybe engineering. What do you want to automate? We don't know. So let's just put that one right now. I will use these for myself. How big is your company? Not using for work. And I heard it from where? That's a good question. Yeah, a podcast. Let me see. And they can say get started. So get paid features for free. Don't worry about that for now. I'm going to just skip it. All right. So nothing here. And then I have something called as start from scratch. Okay. Okay. Let's take the N8N workflow for a spin now and take it from there. So for any workflow, first step is generally to have some kind of a trigger. So let's try and say, let's create a on schedule trigger. All right. So once you create this, it's a trigger for every day. Let's say we want to have it at every day 6 a.m. and that's it. So if you have used any workflow tool, this should be pretty, straightforward and familiar. I'm not going to spend time working through multiple things available here. We will explore them as we go through it. All right, so we now have a trigger here. Now let's see if we can add a connection to our AI agent, right? So since we are using OpenAI APIs, let me use the OpenAI uh, message a model, because we would be having the model run on LM Studio and we would like to message to that model as we work through it. So there are three things that you have to remember. First, you need to have a credential to connect with any LLM system. So they basically use an OpenAI account. Let's not worry about it. Let's create a new credential here. This is important because unless you create a new credential, you will not be able to say which API key to use. Given that we are on LM Studio, we don't care about the API key because we have access to it. And then we also need to choose the base URL. Now, where do I find that base URL? Remember, in our LM Studio, we have the local server that is expected to be reachable here, right? And on top of it, all the models are at /v1. So let's see if we can add this as a local connector. This is the base URL. Now, since there is no API key, I'm just going to put in 1234 here. You don't really need any API key given we are on LM Studio, as I already said. So save. And unfortunately, it says couldn't connect to these settings. Let's see. The service refused the connection. Perhaps it is offline. Let me see if it is offline. No, the server is running. So I really don't know why this is off. This is working as offline. So this was the first thing that I figured out was not working well with uh, my local setup and with A9N. Given that we know that the server is running and we were able to connect to it using our Python code in our earlier sessions, I tried to figure out what may be happening. So one of the things that um, I came across was saying that maybe our Docker installation of N8N is in such a state that it doesn't allow us to connect to 1234 port. So a good way of doing that would be, creating a front end kind of a thing for the internet, as they call it as, and Ngrok is one of the solutions that you can make use of. So I basically went ahead and installed Ngrok on my machine. You can install it by just going to, whichever platform you are on. Since I'm on Windows, I'm using Windows. Install the Ngrok system on your machine. Then you are expected to sign up for a free account, right? This is important because you cannot start Ngrok without getting the auth token. Okay, so you can sign up. Just sign up. I signed up myself, provide whatever basic information that's required for that sign up, and then you are expected to look at your auth token. Remember, this is your personal auth token and keep it secret like a password. So I'm not going to click on this to show you. However, what you need to do is basically copy this auth token and go to a command line. All right, basically just do cmd, and then as they say it here, run this as ngrok auth token and replace your your auth token with the value that is available here. Okay, so that effectively configures Ngrok for you. Uh, Let me actually do that. All right, and I have the auth token and assume that I have copied and entered it. This would effectively configure Ngrok for us. Now to start Ngrok, all right, uh, you basically go back to the same command line and say Ngrok http. Let's make sure we have Ngrok installed. It's out here, so that's good. That's Ngrok http and the port that you would like to connect to. So this is what it is. Now the interesting part of this is it now creates a forwarding URL for us, and this could be anything based on your uh, setup. So in my case, it's this forwarding URL that I have. So I have copied this. Remember, I have copied it. Now let me once again go back and see if I can create the OpenAI connection that we have, which messages a model. So remember, we had this account that I had tried creating earlier. We can just go and delete it, okay, and create another one with create new credentials. Like I said, API key 1234, organization ID doesn't care. Now replace this base URL with the one that we copied from our Ngrok. It's the forwarding URL that you need to copy. Okay, and then add v1 because remember all our APIs are connecting to this URL. Then save, and it says connection tested successfully. So we are good, we are in business. It basically means that we are in a position to connect to our LM Studio source model. Now the operation we have is messenger model. Now we need to know which model to connect to. Okay, so this is our take it as text because we would be providing content only in form of text right now. And then we have the model. So choose it from list. We have my current LM Studio installation has all these models installed. I would be connecting to Gemma 3 4-bit. So this is the model that I'm going to connect to. The message that I'm going to send is text. Role would be user. Now prompt is something that we will have to think of as we create our agent. Okay, so let's test if it really connects to our LLM. And my favorite prompt is who are you? All right, I just type it in, close this, and then go to execute workflow. So when you execute the workflow, though the schedule trigger is expected to work at some time, you can execute it from the environment, and anything that turns green is executed. So to see what has happened here, you can double click on this model and you can see the output here. So if you remember, we used to get the same output and in our chat. Similarly, here I'm Gemma, the large language model created, blah, 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 blah. So that effectively means that I'm in business of connecting to this model, right? And same problem that we saw in the first session. What's the date today? I try that and then say execute again. The workflow executed successfully, and it's still November 23rd, 2023, clearly an incorrect date. Now, what we are going to do is we are going to improve this model in such a way that it solves a use case for us. There are few things that we are going to do in this use case. Use case number one, What we are going to do is we are going to try and summarize certain financial news that is going to come our way from a plethora of news that's available to us, and try and put that into my area of interest so that I can get a summary of only those news items that are of my interest. Okay. Okay. So to get the news, we need some kind of an RSS feed. I'm pretty sure you are familiar with RSS, really simple syndication to get data from any website. Uh, N8N has an RSS feeder, so let's use the RSS read here. We need a URL for that RSS. Let's go to Economic Times website. Let's look at what RSS feeds that they have. All right. So they seem to have pretty good RSS feeds there. And we can use the RSS feed, which is ET Homes RSS feed, the default CMS. All right. So let's put that URL here and let's connect this RSS feed to our trigger, because we would like to see this RSS feed coming to us at 6 a.m. and take it from there. So let me start doing that. So we now have the RSS feed. I've disconnected it from the model for now. Let me just see if I can execute it and see if it executes. Apparently it does. So important thing is to see what is the output schema that we are going to get. So this RSS feed is giving me 76 items: title, link to the news, publication date, content and content snippet, GUID, ISO date, and whatnot. I can potentially go through a table of these, and we should be able to see all the 76 items if we need to. Good that the RSS feed is now working. Now let me try and push this to my LLM so that I can make sense out of this. I don't want to read all those 76 items that I'm getting. I want to read only those items, let's say for now, that are related to United States and nothing else. Now this is kind of becoming unwieldy. You see this icon, a tidy up? If I do that, it will tidy it up. So let's go back to our message model and put a prompt which says summarize items that are related to US economy only, and I would like to get them in the form of, and this is important, so start looking at these things, a JSON. All right, so what is the output format? I'm going to choose the output format as a JSON object, and I would also like this to be very strict. I only want things which are really related to US. Okay, let's get these. Now the problem is, if I'm going to send all 76 outputs directly to this, it's going to cause a bit of a overload on my LLM system. All right, it would continue to work on this, and I don't know how much time it is going to take to execute. Let's give it a minute or two. I'm going to pause the video for that time. Well, it's been more than 4 minutes now, 3 minutes, and still I'm not seeing any response. So let me just terminate the workflow and try and create uh, a messaging in such a way that I message one item at a time to the model. In any case, I want to get only those items in a way that I can process them. So let's put the batch size as 1. All right. and we will keep it as is. Again, let's try and tidy it up. So instead of this RSS now going to, let's go to the loop here. All right, let's not worry about the replace portion of it. So let's delete it and let's go to the loop so that it can go to messaging this. Okay, so we are going to send items to this, and then we are going to try and see if we can make any sense out of this. Before we do this, because there are 76 items coming in, I would like to limit this. All right, so you can use restrict the number of items. Okay, and let's say for the testing purposes, the max items to 1. Okay, and again, instead of sending this to the loop, I'm going to send this to limit, and I'm going to change this. So just to summarize what we have done, we have a schedule trigger. Now we have an RSS feed that is coming to us from the Economic Times of India. All right, and the schema that they make use of, we can see it here. Since we saw that there are 76 items coming our way, I'm going to limit it, and so I put a limiter, and I've just put only one item here for the limit, and then I'm going to loop over these items and see if I can really loop over them. Okay, so let's execute the workflow. You can see it is one item and it's sending only one item to the message model. Let's now see if it executes and does whatever we asked it to do. And what did we ask it to do? We asked it to summarize items that are related to US economy only. Let's see if the brain of this LLM is able to read whatever it is getting and is able to see if it is related to economy, of US economy. Looking at the content here, silver ETF sync, I don't think it is related to US economy, but let's give our LLM a chance to tell us if it is or not. Let's see, is it connecting here? Yes, you can see that it is generating and it is working on it. Cool. So it has completed it on this side. Sorry, no, not completed. It is still working through it. Okay, so it has worked. It apparently has completed the job. Let's see what is the output here. So this is the input that we had, and the output seems to be saying here is a JSON summary of formatting solely on the aspects of US economy, blah blah blah. Completely useless information, because what I'm looking for is this item related to US, then only show it to me. Whereas it is doing it from its own brain or whatever it has learned. The reason is my prompt did not refer to the content. All right, so we have to see summarize item and is this item if related to US economy. Summarize the news item below if it is related to US economy, and I'll say news item is the JSON content. All right. So now let's see if this works. Okay. Let's again execute the workflow. Okay. So the workflow has executed right now. Let's see what it is telling us. All right. So it is basically looking at whatever ETFs it has got, and it's trying to tell me what is the reasoning that it thinks. So there is a summary of whatever it has done, and it still thinks that silver ETFs experience is relevant to US economy. No, it's telling me the relevance to US economy is low. All right. So think of it this way. Now we know that it is not going to give me a Boolean answer if this is related or not, because that's not how we want the LLM also to think, because this is a subjective opinion, right? So it's telling me the relevance is low, and we would then have to make use of this way of responses from LLMs to build our agent. Okay, so looking at this response, I'm now saying we are seeing this part of the JSON response. Remember, this is the response that we were talking about. Relevance to US economy, because that's what I'm asking it to do, is low. One thing that I have learned through these experiments is that creating this prompt in a proper way so that I can make use of the information that is coming out is critical. So we are going to stop today for this session, and in the next session I will create a prompt which would help me to make sure that it is giving me the output that I look forward to. Thank you again for watching. If you like it, subscribe, and happy learning.